Test, test, FAX Sports Podcast in the house.
Tess, you got me? Chris,
Got
you got me?
clear. Got,
Can you hear me okay?
got you loud and clear, sir.
All
Breaking
right.
feed. FAX Sports has a podcast as far as we know, and this is the second episode. Today, FAX is dialed in with two-time All-Star, World Series champion, 20-game winner, and Atlanta Braves legend, Denny Neagle. Thanks for being on the podcast, Denny.
Wait, what are you talking about? This is John Smoltz.
Oh, shit, we got Smoltz.
Hey, what's up, Chris? How you doing, man?
Doing great. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it, man.
This is a milestone moment just in the fact that we haven't had technical difficulties, because the first one with Josh Reddick, I left him hanging for like 2 minutes. You know, I'm simply a fax machine, so it's kind of hard for me to operate these things, but I'm glad we're off and running.
No mistakes here, man. We're gonna crush this.
So, Denny, have you ever been faxed?
I have to admit, I'm going to bring up probably the two most recent ones. The first one that I recall from this offseason was when Juan Soto signed with the Dodgers. You got me on that one because I didn't even look at where it came from, and I'm like, well, that makes sense because for crying out loud, I mean, who else are they signing right now? I mean, I was waiting for them to bring Wayne Gretzky out of retirement, for crying out loud. So you got me on that one until I saw who it was from. And then the other more recent one was, the Yankees signed Trevor Bauer like the second week in March. And I was like, it's about freaking time somebody gave this guy another chance. And then like same thing, I looked up and I go, God dang it, they got me again, man.
Yeah, both of those, it's Soto to the Dodgers, believable, and Bauer just deserves it, in my opinion.
Oh,
I feel like the Yankees.
100%.
All right, what about actually sending a fax? When's the last time you sent a fax?
Holy crap. I mean, technically, I still do kind of send fax, but now it's like I use my Genius Scan app and just scan stuff over, through the app on my phone. It's just so much easier now. So so actually sending it from a fax machine, holy crap! I couldn't even tell you. It's probably been maybe 10 years.
Still going, man. We're still around, somewhere in some parts of the world, I like to believe.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. It's like a pager.
That's my cousin.
I knew it.
Now, a lot of people thought this was going to be a fax, but it's real, very real, just like your career resume. 286 starts, 1,890 innings pitched, 124 wins, 1,415 strikeouts, and 69 pranks pulled on Greg Maddux, as far as we know.
Yeah, I definitely got Maddox on a few of them. I think me and Smoltzy were the ones that even went back and forth even a little bit more than Maddox, because the problem with Maddox is that, which we'll get into, if you prank him and you pull a joke or prank on him, chances are it's going to be something disgusting that he gets you back on.
Yeah, we're going to get into that later. I'm looking forward to getting into that. Definitely a lot to talk about there. So let's get to it. Oh, and just a heads up, my Dodger fan neighbor is currently having a family barbecue. So if you hear like any fireworks or cop sirens in the background, don't be alarmed. He's just celebrating the Dodgers series win over Pittsburgh.
Sure it is. You're probably having a rager over there, bringing over the fax machines, the pagers, and the coffee pots.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it civil over here on the other side of the fence. So I'm going to start with your time as a Pirate, Pittsburgh Pirate, that is. What was it like sharing a clubhouse with Barry Bonds on that 92 Pirates team? Because you had him for 1 year before he went to the Giants in 93. So I'm kind of curious if anything about his preparation or personality stood out to you at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because a lot of that's one that, that's one definitely up there with one of the number one questions I get from people when they see who I played with and what teams and what, teammates and stuff. And Barry was one of those guys, man. I never had anything bad to say against Barry personally because he always treated me great. Even as a rookie, he just never gave me any crap or anything, and always showed me a lot of respect. And then once he left too, and when I faced him as a pitcher, he loved it, the fact that he goes, what I like about you, kid? And he goes, man, you at least come after me and challenge me, man. All these other guys just put me on base, or pitch around me all the time. He goes, at least you got the balls to come after me and try to challenge me at least. So he always respected that from me. But being a teammate with him, I'll tell you what, man, it was unbelievable to watch that guy on a daily basis because yes, the game came easy for him because he had so much God-given talent, but he also worked his tail off too, man. I mean, with his preparation with tee work and watching film on hitters and stuff. I mean, there's a reason why, there's a viral video going around right now about Chipper Jones talking about him and a story about Barry, facing him when he was with the Braves. And it's so true. Barry was so good and so prepared that if you had that one spot to pitch to him, and if you missed that spot, I mean, you were going to pay for it because he just never missed. If you missed that spot, the guy just never missed, and a lot of it had to do with his preparation.
Yeah, he seemed to be like the ultimate mistake hitter.
Oh my God, 100%. Yep. There were some guys you could make mistakes and get away with sometimes. Barry was definitely not one of those guys. Very rarely did he miss a mistake.
Now I see we got some more people from FAX Nation tuning in. I'm seeing some questions about ketchup. I'm seeing some requests for me to marry people's moms. Friendly reminder, I am literally a fax machine. So just want to remind FAX Nation there. But I do want to say thank you to everyone joining, all the fans of Denny Neagle's side, FAX side. Really appreciate the tune in. And this is episode 2 of the podcast. We're here with Denny Neagle, Atlanta Braves legend. Denny, I actually, hearing off that Bonds question, I did check the StatFax records. You've got 5 career home runs. Were there any hitting tips or tricks that you picked up on from Bonds in your one season together?
Any hitting tips for myself?
Correct. Yeah, because you had 5 home runs. Did Bonds teach you anything on the hitting side?
I mean, I can't say that he actually did give me any particular tips himself too, but being a guy that I'm a very visual guy, so I learn even today in my life, I've become handy myself by watching YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I was much better at somebody that could watch somebody do it in front of me visually. So just to be able to watch somebody like that go about his work, and like I said, the tee work and everything, it was hard not to pick up something, and I did take pride on myself being able to handle the bat up there and help yourself out in those situations and stuff. And yes, I did hit 5 bombs with 2 grand slams. I was the answer to a trivia at one point, and I was the only I was the only active pitcher for a while there that had 2 or more career grand slams. But one quick Barry Bonds funny story is one of the first times I faced him once he went to San Francisco. Every time, especially when he would come back to Pittsburgh, obviously the fans loved to boo him because they hated him for leaving. And how could you not? I mean, why would you not want the guy to stay there? He was going to, you could tell he was going to be a Hall of Famer. But the one game, I think I threw a complete game against him, but he got 2 hits off me, and he got a single and a double. When he got the single, I picked him off first base. Next at bat, he hits a double, and I swear to God, I picked him off second base very next pitch. So that was pretty fun because the fans were pissed off that he got hits off me, but then they got really loud when I picked him off the bases.
Oh, they must have loved that.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Speaking of good hitting pitchers, kind of piggybacking off your five career home runs, I'm curious what you learned from being around the Mount Rushmore of pitching rotations. I'm talking when you're on the Braves, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz. I'm definitely fanning out here because everyone in FAX Nation knows. If they know, they know. I'm a Braves fan. Shout out Orioles secondary team real quick. North Japan, 3rd favorite team real quick. But big time Braves fan. Everyone knows that. And I remember growing up watching y'all and just being floored with the fact that 97 epic year for you, obviously 20 wins, but that rotation that year, everyone had 15 wins or more. And I'm just curious, kind of, you were already an all-star once from 92 with Pittsburgh, if I recall correct.
95, yep.
95, thank you. If you picked up something from Maddux, Glavine, and Smoltz and kind of what that was.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was hard not to learn from, having the best seat. I always said I had the best seat in the house to watch three future Hall of Famers because, again, just like Barry Bonds, you knew these three guys were well on their way to the Hall of Fame, barring any injuries at that point in their career. So to be able to sit there on a nightly basis and watch three future Hall of Famers go at their craft, and watching Maddox pitch, 79 pitch complete games and Smoltz strike out 15 and Glavine get 14 ground ball outs, whatever. And so by the time I got up there, it was like, man, I mean, I don't want to be the low man on the totem pole, but also too, I mean, just to watch the way they, again, a lot like Barry Bonds, all three of those guys were such professionals at their job, watching the way they prepared and watching film on hitters and stuff. And so by the time they took the mound, they knew exactly how they were going to go about, attacking hitters and stuff. And that was hard not to pick up on that.
Was it more preparation than any other team staff that you've been a part of as far as just the pregame planning side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the scouting department was so good with the Braves. The Braves organization from top to bottom. Whenever anybody asked me to, like, what was your favorite organization, I always said the Braves, and that's with all due respect for some of the great managers and teams that I played for, because I was lucky enough to play for 6 different teams. But the Braves, there was just something about them, and with John Schuerholz and Ted Turner as the owner, and then Bobby Cox, who was like a second dad to most of us, and my favorite manager, that I played for and stuff. But our scouting department was so good. And so when we went over hitters, the advanced scout team did such a great job of dissecting them and stuff. And this is way before the technology now that you could just pull, videos up on iPads and stuff, whatever. And, we just had notes to go on by our advanced scouts and stuff, but they were so good and so detailed that, yeah, the preparation was so good. But by the time we went out there, we knew exactly how we wanted to attack, everybody in that lineup.
Do you think we'll ever see a rotation that's stacked again? I mean, we're talking 4 15-game winners. I know the Dodgers are trying to buy North Japan. They're trying to get everyone. Do you think that's a possibility as far as the Mount Rushmore rotation again?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say no. I'd love to say, heck no, nobody's ever going to be as good as us. And, because also, too, when you throw in the 98 team and Kevin Millwood as the fifth starter, we had all 5 guys win 16 or more in the rotation. And that was the first time it happened since like the 1912 Phillies or somebody like that. So anytime you're talking like, it had been 75, 80 years in the game of baseball that the last time that had happened, you're part of something pretty special. So on one hand, I would love to say, heck no, nobody's ever going to come close to that. But, did anybody ever think that somebody would catch Wayne Gretzky? No, but my one of my idols, I love the grade 8. I'm from, that's the other thing I was going to tell you. Another thing we have in common is I'm from just outside the Baltimore area, so I'm a huge Orioles fan myself too. And so, bringing up that, it's, nobody ever thought Wayne Gretzky's record would be taken down and stuff. So, not that we have any records or something, but we put up some incredible numbers and we're part of a special rotation. But just when you think something like that can never happen again, along comes a Shohei Ohtani type of player in the game of baseball. And, so you never know. I mean, there's definitely going to be another great rotation somewhere along the line here that'll probably surpass that.
Yeah, you're from Annapolis, Maryland. Shout out to Maryland area in the DMV. I'm actually from Northern Virginia myself, McLean.
Nice, dude. Great area.
So I want to remind all of our viewers here, all of our listeners here, you won 20 games with the Braves in '97. Like that is epic and very, very rare to see in today's game. I'm curious, kind of looking back, what do you think contributed most to your success that year?
Well, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about. When I got traded over there, a lot of the media their number one question to me all the time was, man, what's it like pitching in a rotation with 3 future Hall of Famers? It must be, it must be nerve wracking. It must be a lot of pressure. And I always used to tell them, honestly, Chris, I used to say, man, look, nobody's going to put as much pressure on me than myself. I'm my own worst critic, my own worst enemy. So that's taken care of. So as far as I was concerned, to me, it was a blessing that I was able to go over and be part of that rotation. Because like I was just saying, a minute ago, is that when you watch those guys go out and do their thing, and Maddox those 79 pitch complete games and Smoltz strike out 16 and Glavine get 17 ground ball outs. By the time it was my turn, like I said, I didn't want to be the low man on the totem pole. So I always compared it to like running in a 100-yard dash, right? If you run in a 100-yard dash with 10 other guys that you can beat them every time, yeah, you're probably going to win that race, but are you going to put your best time up? No, probably not. Now, if you run a 100-yard dash with guys that are just as fast, if not faster than you might not win that race, but I guarantee you're going to keep putting up your best times every time because those guys are going to push you to be that much better. And that's how I felt pitching that rotation. I'm like, man, these guys are so daggone good at their craft that they're pushing me to push my game up to another level. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was able to feed off of that. And then everything just clicked that year when I won 20 in 97.
Such an epic year, man. No, I think you touched on a couple of points that I want to iterate off of. One is I think we hear it a lot now with if a team is on a winning streak, the next pitcher doesn't want to be the guy that causes the L, right? So like
Yep.
they want to keep it going. And I think that kind of competitiveness is really healthy and definitely seems to have kind of come across with you. The second point I want to iterate off of is I'm literally fax machine. So I cannot run. I have no legs. So that track analogy you just dropped really didn't land with me, but I kind of got it.
Well, I guess maybe the best thing to compare it for you would be, I mean, if you're going up against a new scanning machine, I mean, wouldn't you want to up your game to another level and be able to fax a little bit quicker yourself even too?
Oh, absolutely. Especially if it's a Mets fan.
Absolutely, man.
Good stuff, man. Oh, I love it. All right, let's talk Arsenal. Favorite pitch to throw. I think I know what the answer might be to this, but as a local wiffle ball player myself, which again without arms, wiffle ball is difficult, but I kind of simulate it. I've definitely got a couple of pitches in my wiffle ball league that I go to. If any of my wiffle ball buddies are listening, they know because I've struck them out a bunch. But I'm curious for you, what was your kind of go-to favorite pitch to throw, and why was it so effective for you?
It was definitely the circle changeup. Um, I started perfecting it when I was in college, actually, at the University of Minnesota, because there was a guy named Frank Viola that was pitching for the Twins when they won the World Series in '87, and watching him throw that circle change and listen to Kirby Puckett play center field behind him, talking about, man, it's crazy just sitting there in center field watching. And he goes, these guys know it's coming and they still can't hit it, man, because Frankie V's got that nasty circle change. And so I was in college at the University of Minnesota then playing college baseball, and I didn't really have a changeup, but I was watching Frank Viola throw that, and I was like, man, I got to learn this pitch, man. Being a lefty too, and watching Frank Viola, a fellow left-hander, do that at that level, it just made me want to learn that pitch. So I started learning it when I was in college and started perfecting it pretty good, to the point where I felt really good about it coming out of college. And then it was my minor league pitching coach in high A ball in Visalia, and he was the one. His name was Brian Allard. And he was like, kid, he goes, you got an incredible changeup, man, but you don't throw it enough. He goes, I'll tell you what, each game, this game, you're going to throw it at least 15 times. The next start, he made me throw it at least 20 times. The next start, it was like 25 times, to the point where I got to the point where I got so comfortable with it that I could throw it any pitch, any time. I mean, any count, anytime, no matter what hitter it was, didn't matter. 2-0, 3-1, 0-2, 1-2, it didn't matter, because I just got such a good feel for it. And it was because of him instilling that confidence in me to want to go out there and throw that. He goes, it's okay. Not everybody has to have that dominating fastball to be a dominant pitcher. You can be dominant with great command and good off speed pitches. So that really I think helped accelerate my career, and I ended up going 8-0 that year in Visalia, and that really propelled me in the minor leagues and well on my way to advancing pretty quick in the minor leagues. And so, that was the pitch throughout my whole career that I had the utmost confidence to throw it, 3-0, 3-1, 0-2, 1-2. It didn't matter.
I love the Frank Viola name drop. Do you think more pitchers need to lean into off speed now? It seems like everyone's throwing, not pitching, and so that's kind of contributing to a lot of injuries. People, I'm obviously not a player. I'm a fax machine, but I assume that one of the fastest ways for a college player, high school player to get noticed, get called up, is to just throw heat. Do you think that we need more off speed? We need more changeups. We need more finesse in the game?
Yeah, I think there's no question that some of these guys could definitely use it for sure, because the game has. And look, I'm not saying this because I'm old school and I'm not for the game changing and all that. I'm all for it. There's so many cool things that are happening that I love that the game has evolved to and stuff. But I do feel that the game has gotten a little out of hand with the max effort, spin rates, like you said, who can hit 98, 99 on the guns now and stuff. And I do think that has contributed with all these Tommy John injuries that you're seeing now that have just, I mean, multiplied over the past 10, 15, 20 years and stuff. And so I do think guys have lost a little bit of feel for it. I mean, my God, all you have to do is look at probably arguably the best young pitcher in the game right now. Paul Skeens from the Pirates. And what's one of his most devastating pitches that he's come up with is that sport ball that he calls it, whatever or I think that's what he calls it. I forget now, but it's a combination between a changeup and a forkball or a split, whatever, and I mean, here's a guy that does throw 99, 100 miles an hour, but he's even the first one to admit that one of the reasons why he's become even that much more dominant and effective is because he's learned how to get his off-speed pitches over. Nolan Ryan was a power, the classic power pitcher, but he'll be the first one to tell you that when he became a much better pitcher in the big leagues was when he started learning how to throw his changeup and curveballs over for strikes.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, I think with Skeens, it's the sport ball, and he's also got like the splinker, and he's got
splinker. That's it. Yep.
6 or 7 pitches, which is wild. I was actually at the game Friday, and against Yamamoto was pretty epic. But I think you dropping Skeens' name just now actually triggered like 50 Roman candle flares from my Dodger fan neighbors. So I got to keep on the down low. But
are you sure? You sure? Maybe because they weren't thinking about Livy Dunn.
I think that's a part of it. That's a part of it. You were a 2-time All-Star, which is more than I can say, as I'm literally a fax machine. What do you remember most about those experiences in the All-Star game, and what do they mean to you?
Well, I mean, the first thing that jumps out to me is obviously just making my first one was just an incredible moment, and to get that word from Jim Leland that I made my first All-Star team that year with the Pirates was pretty incredible in itself. And then just obviously the whole experience was incredible. I mean, one funny part that I'll remember is that they always have the gala the night before the game, and they hosted at somewhere that's local for, that kind of what the city has to, what's around the city and stuff. And that year it was in Arlington. And so they rented out the whole Six Flags amusement park that was right next to the old ballpark in Arlington there. And it was so freaking hot. I mean, it was like 102 at 7 or 8 o'clock at night still. And so, it was just so funny to see all these guys trying to go around and ride rides with their wives and kids and stuff, whatever. And I just remember Randy Johnson on a roller coaster, and he looked like Fred Flintstone riding his car with his head popping out of the car because he was so daggone tall, to ride the roller coaster. I'm surprised he could even fit in it. And just sweating bullets coming down his face because we were all sweating so hard. So that's about the gala and stuff. But then the game itself too. I mean, to get in, I remember I pitched. I think it was the 6th inning, and we were down 2-1, and I gave up a leadoff double to Carlos Baerga, and then Robbie Alomar pinch runs for him. Proceeds to steal third with nobody out. So now I got a man on third, nobody out, and I'm facing like Edgar Martinez, Mo Vaughn, and Albert Bell. And I got Edgar Martinez to pop up to short. I struck out Mo Vaughn, and then I got Albert Bell on a 3-1 changeup to ground out to short to get out of the inning and hold that run at third to keep it 2-1. And then I remember Jeff Conine hit a bomb to lead off the 7th inning, and then we end up winning the game 3-2. But Felipe Alou, after the game gave me some good credit. Was like, that 6th inning was pretty huge for Neagle to keep us, in that 2-1 ball game, 2-1 ball game right there. So that was pretty incredible to get out of that inning with those 3 guys that I had to get out.
I feel like Albert Bell was just such a rare, unique, era player that most baseball fans now, they can't. There's not a current day equivalent for Albert Bell, but I kind of wish there was because he was just so special.
And so intimidating.
Yes, sir.
When he came up there, he just looked like he was pissed off at the world.
Because he was.
Exactly.
And you're talking about heat in Texas, like 107 degrees or 105 degrees. Are you pro dome or anti dome? Because I'm a big believer in that. Make domes mandatory, eliminate rain delays, eliminate postponements. Let's go full dome. You can do the air conditioning, control the heat, all that.
Well, and plus now my God, with the technology with retractable roofs and everything too, why would you not, spend the money and go at the very least a retractable roof? So like you said, you don't have to worry about the elements and the weather and stuff and wouldn't have to worry about heat outs and snow outs and everything else.
All right, Vaccination, you heard it here on the record. Denny Neagle is pro mandatory dome / retractable roof. Confirmed.
100%.
You mentioned Baerga. Man, that guy was a thorn in the Braves' side in the 95 World Series, Braves Indians. Speaking of World Series, you won the World Series with the Yankees in 2000. So I'm curious, what's one moment that stands out to you from being a part of that 2000 Yankees championship squad?
Oh, man. I mean, obviously just to put on the pinstripes was unbelievable. Even though I grew up in a huge Orioles fan, how could you not at least have respect for the Yankees and everything they had done? And my dad grew up actually a huge Washington Senators fan. And then when they left, he adopted the Orioles, but he still always had that respect for the Yankees too. His favorite ball player was Mickey Mantle growing up. So, when I got traded over after my first start, my dad had tears in his eyes. Whatever. I had a great start too, and I remember I beat the Phillies in interleague game 3-1 and beat Schilling. And to have the 55, 60,000 fans all cheering my name and stuff, having the pinstripes on, my dad said that was probably one of the most surreal, craziest moments that he was able to experience with me too, because playing in the same ballpark that Mickey Mantle played and everything too, it was just incredible. So, I mean, it was unbelievable, but also too, I mean, just the whole aura too, in the city of New York and everything, and probably one of the funnier moments that I got to experience. I'll tell you that that came to mind was you never know who was going to show up at the ballpark, right? All kinds of stars and celebrities and stuff. It's like Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium. You never know what stars are going to be at those games, right? Or who's going to sing the national anthem. So the one game, Tom Wopat, who played Bo Duke on the Dukes of Hazzard, he was in town doing like Annie Get Your Gun on Broadway, right? So he's getting ready to sing the national anthem, and me and Knobloch and Jason Grimsley and a few of the guys are hanging out in front of the dugout because we wanted to talk Dukes of Hazzard with them, right? We grew up on that show and stuff, and so we were kind of bullshitting with them and asking them a few questions about the show, and they're like, "Hey, we got to know, dude. We got to know if him and Daisy Duke were actually, because there was rumors about either him or Luke Duke, John Snyder, maybe hooked up behind the scenes and stuff." So I go, "Hey, Tom, hey, quick question for you. Me and the boys want to know, did you and Daisy ever get together, behind the scenes?" And he kind of turns to us, man, and all flustered and stuff because I didn't realize this was like his fiance girlfriend or whatever that was with him. And he puts his back to her and he's pointing like, with his finger to us. So she can't see. She's behind him going, "I'm really not at liberty to discuss this right now. It's kind of a sore subject, as he's pointing behind her. So we're like, "Oh shit, sorry about that, man. Didn't mean to get you into trouble there." And so he was flustered after that. And then he goes out to sing the national anthem. And I swear to God, man, he kind of butchered it and his voice cracked on a couple notes and stuff. And so the boys are going, "Way to go, Nagel. You screwed him up, man. You flustered him for the national anthem."
Neagle with the clutch fluster. That fluster might have been an MLB record.
I think so.
99, speaking of Yankees, 1999, Braves Yankees, that was brutal for me as a Braves fan. We definitely could have used you on the squad at the time.
I know.
That Yankee team was exploded.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, they were.
I want to rewind a bit now. Twins question. So most people probably know this, some might not. You came up with the Twins in 91 before Pittsburgh. And a lot of prospective listeners potentially, might be ball players themselves. So I'm curious if you could kind of maybe give one piece of advice that you would give your rookie self with the Twins in 91.
Absolutely, man. If I could go back and talk to myself, the one piece of advice that I would definitely give is don't forget to enjoy every moment in this game, because the game is tough enough as it is. And we put so much pressure on ourselves, as I was telling you earlier. I was my own worst critic. And sometimes I could be too hard on myself. And, so throughout my career, I would get to the point sometimes where I would be so hard on myself because of an outing or outings, a slump that I got in or something, that I just forgot to have fun while I'm playing this game. And I used to tell the media and stuff too, look, we're getting paid stupid amount of money to play a childhood game. How could you not have fun playing this game? But sometimes I would lose focus of that, and forget that I'm supposed to be having fun in this game. So the one piece of advice I would definitely give myself is, man, have as much fun as possible and enjoy every single every single part of the ride, while you're taking that ride.
I like that. Do you think that feeling that pressure on your end came from just you being competitive in nature, or you just maybe feeling some pressure to succeed early?
A lot of it was just my competitive nature too. It's such a cliche, but it is so true that most professional athletes, you hate to lose at everything. I couldn't stand if I lost to my younger brother in ping pong, whatever, or the Papa Shot game, basketball game in the arcade. I mean, it didn't matter what I was playing, what I was doing. I hated to lose at anything, man. And so that competitive edge was just instilled in me from such a young age that I instilled in myself even too. So, I hated to lose way more than it was satisfying to win, which is a good thing.
I like that. I think one of one of the reasons why I'm excited to have you on this podcast is because you kept it loose in the clubhouse, and I think that kind of balanced out a lot of the competitive, nature and kind of vibes in sports. Like you took acting lessons, improv lessons. I'm kind of curious, where did that comedic side come from for you? Was it natural? Was it inherent? And kind of how important did you feel like that was to team chemistry?
Yeah, I grew up just kind of, I was always known as like the baseball kid, the athlete, in my town growing up and everything. But I was also known as the goofy kid, the class clown that wasn't afraid to make a joke, to keep everybody loose, to make a sound effect, do a fart noise, whatever it was, to make people laugh in high school and junior high and my own family. When we used to have game night, and I would always play Richard Dawson when we did Family Feud, and stuff, because I just love trying to make my whole family laugh, or when we would do like reenactments or play charades. I always had to try to be the funniest one in the room. And because I just got a kick out of making people laugh, I mean, to me, I feel like laughter is one thing that's missing a lot of times in this world today, even too. And, it doesn't take a lot what's that saying? It takes more muscles in your face to make a frown than it does a smile. But I think sometimes people forget that. And so my one of my things in life has always been to try to enjoy life as much as possible. And I think one of the ways you do that is through laughter and making people, keeping people loose and making people laugh. So that was always definitely one of my goals in the clubhouse and everything. And one of my favorite compliments that my dad had told me once I left the Yankees and I was with the Rockies. Michael K. My dad used to still go to Orioles games sometimes, especially when the Yankees or other teams that he knew that, players on the team or media and staff and stuff would be coming through. My dad would go to the games and stay afterwards and say hi to them. So he was at an Orioles Yankees game a couple years after I had left. Like I said, I'm with the Rockies now. And Michael K sees him and he goes, "Hey, Mr. Nagel, how you doing, man?" He goes, "Tell Denny I said hi." And he goes, "Can I tell you something, man?" He goes, ever since Denny left, this clubhouse has just been a freaking boring clubhouse, man. These guys don't know how to keep it loose. They don't know how to laugh and have fun and enjoy this game anymore. He goes, "That's one of the things I loved about your son, man. God, he kept it loose when he was here."
Are you saying Jeter is just like kind of serious and can't tell a good joke?
He could take a joke. He could be loose, but he definitely wasn't like obviously the goofball, goofy type and everything. But that's okay. Every team needs that different guy and everything too, and stuff. So Derek definitely knew how to laugh and have a good time and stuff. But that guy was definitely the consummate professional for sure.
I love that story. As a Braves fan, again, which FAX Nation knows, I'm a Braves fan. I talk about it every day. But for me, that 2021 Braves World Series team, you don't
Yep.
win it without Jock Peterson keeping it loose in the clubhouse.
Yep. 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 With what didn't he have like the gold necklace thing that he brought over there and stuff too, like the big chain and
Pearl,
stuff. But
pearl
yeah,
necklace,
yeah,
cigars,
that's right. The pearl necklace. Yep. Yep. But yeah, yeah.
wine club after clinching division series NLCS. He would bring out the wine and have the pearls and the cigars. Yeah, I think what you just touched on is so important, like the need to keep it loose.
Yeah, yeah, and one other one I'll share with you too is one of by far one of my favorite teams that I played for, and like Sean Casey will tell you this, Greg Vaughn will tell you this, Aaron Boone will tell you this. One of the favorite teams that I ever played for was the '99 Reds because we were such a fun, loose bunch that year, and we weren't supposed to do that good. All the quote unquote experts and pundits had picked us, I think, to finish dead last in the NL Central that year. and we ended up, almost overtaking the Astros for the division. But we went to a 1-game playoff in the Mets that year, lost that game because Al Leiter threw the game of his life against us. But we well exceeded our expectations according to the quote unquote experts again, because they didn't take into consideration and account that we had guys like myself and Pete Harnish and Greg Vaughn that we kept that clubhouse loose, man. And we had such a great time. We went on the road. Greg Vaughn and Barry Larkin took all the position players out for team dinners, and me and Pete Harnish would take all the pitchers out for just the bonding experience and getting the guys to just buy into this clubhouse atmosphere and that camaraderie. Because it's one of the most underrated things I think in all of sports is that clubhouse chemistry.
I think you're so right. And you're talking about experts underrating you and kind of downvaluing you, and never trust the mainstream media, man. I mean, that's a big reason FAX Sports is here, just because we got to call out the mainstream media experts, quote unquote experts.
Yes.
You can't even my dad, Jeff Passan, who, a lot of people say, well, you're a son, you're a fax machine, he's a human. But yes, I am Jeff Passan's son, for those listening, for the record. It is unique to evolution. But to your point, I think that doubt, can definitely kind of help spur some clubhouse momentum. Last thing I want to touch on here is just really quickly to your point about humor and keeping it loose. Some people might know this in FAX Nation, some might not. I started FAX Sports in 2022, right after Freddie Freeman left the Braves. Actually, I think my first fax was actually from Chipper Jones saying, after the Matt Olson trade, if I'm Freddie, I sign with the Dodgers and I make them pay. And to me, as a diehard Braves fan, seeing Freddie leave right after we won the World Series is like, I had to laugh about it. I had to cope. I needed to cope with it through laughter. And to your point, humor can really solve for, I think, so much, being able to just kind of being able to laugh about stuff.
Oh, without a doubt, man. And like you said, I mean, that's something we can all learn to do in our daily lives even more too. Because I mean, what's good is sulking or being pissed off about something or bitching about something. I mean, what good is it going to do? Yeah, I mean, it might help you for like 5-10 minutes, but guess what? It's not going away. It's not going to change things. So we might as well just learn to laugh at and try to find the lighter side of things and humor and things and stuff, whatever, because I mean, it will definitely make things probably go a little bit easier in a whole grand scheme of things.
I agree. Now I'm going to shift gears from – I said shift gears. Damn, I said I wasn't going to say it because I said it a lot in the Reddick first podcast episode. I said shift gears all the time because I'm literally made of gears. It's a fax machine. But damn. I said it.
Your DNA. You can't help it.
Thank you. Yeah, you get me. All right. Toughest hitter you ever faced, and what made them so difficult to pitch to?
Well, I will go back to somebody here, but before I do, I will say believe it or not, it was so funny. Those little scrappy, pesky hitters used to give me so much trouble. One of them was Mark Lemke, who became my teammate with the Braves. But that guy, when I faced him when I was with the Pirates, I could not freaking get Lemke out, man. He was just so pesky. No power at all. He would hit like maybe 2 or 3 home runs. One of them would usually be off me. But like he was tough. Like Spike Owen, same kind of hitter when he was with the Expos. I hated facing him. God, who was the other one? There was oh God, I forget his name with the Dodgers. Mitch Webster, I think was his name. Was that same type of guy? Those little guys used to give me crap. But the a couple other bigger name guys that home run hitters, I should say. Dante Bichette, Ellis Burks, and Reggie Sanders. For those guys used to wear me out, even though they weren't like Dante Bichette was a great hitter. Don't get me wrong. But the other guys were known as more of like, kind of streaky hitters and stuff, whatever. But then I know Reggie Sanders had some really good success against me. But the one guy that I will say, who I will go back to, who we talked about already when we first opened up the show, was Barry Bonds. I mean, because again, the guy, he had a hole in his swing, but it was so microscopic. And if you didn't hit that spot, like we talked about earlier, I mean, he was going to get you, and it was just incredible, man. So it's just so intimidating facing him too, because you knew you had to hit that one little fine spot and you had to be so perfect with him. So that in itself, kind of messed you up in the first place.
Kids these days don't know Mark Lemke, man. Like the Lemmer four 400 hitter in the 91 playoffs. I mean, that guy was always rocking the baseball cap under the helmet,
Yep.
going double bill.
Yep. I was going to say he was definitely clutch in the postseason for sure.
Would you, if you had to pick one, like the pesky hitter who you know is going to foul balls, spoil pitches, make contact versus the power threat like Bonds who could just never miss, that's almost a tough one to say who would I rather kind of face.
Well, I think I would still probably go with the pesky hitter just because chances are he's most likely not going to take you deep. He's going to put the ball in play and single, nickel and dime you to death and single and maybe double you to death. But Bonds, you make that one mistake too, and he might, make you pay with that 3-run homer too.
That's fair. All right. So on the flip side, one hitter that you just could not wait to face that you were like, okay, this guy's coming up. Oh, hell yeah. I can dial it down a little bit.
Well, I'm going to go with two of them right here too, because one is definitely going to be my claim to fame to my grandkids and everything, and I brag about it today even too because he even talked about it. But before I get to him, the one guy that, and for some reason it seemed like I never missed a spot against this guy, but Mark McGwire. He started his career against me like I want to say like 0 for 15 or 0 for 16, and I had like 11 punch outs against him because his two biggest holes were low and away and up and in. So, which a lot of guys are, that's kind of textbook pitching. You want to go low and away and up and in, and stuff, but you don't always hit those spots and the game plan doesn't always play out the way you'd like to, but for some reason, when I faced him, I just felt so comfortable that it seemed like I never missed a spot. And he would even joke with me too, going, "Do you ever not throw one exactly where you want to throw it against me? I don't understand this, man." And he said, and plus he just couldn't hit my changeup too. So, I definitely owned him for sure. And then my other big claim to fame was Tony Gwynn was like lifetime, like oh God, like 148 or 153 against me. I forget. It might have been. He might have finished just a little bit higher than that. But when him, Cal Ripken, and Wade Boggs were all going for their 3,000 hit that year, Sports Illustrated did this like huge, like 15-page spread on all three of the guys. And it was about their whole careers and everything. And at one point, they got to the one section where they're like, "Okay, guys, can you tell me your three favorite guys you like to face and your three least favorite?" And they were like, "Well, I'm not going to say like, I like to face this guy, but the three guys I had the most success on were, A, B, and C." And then each three guys listed the three guys they hated to face. And Gwynn listed me, Nolan Ryan, and Randy Johnson as his three that he hated to face.
No way. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So that's why I said I'll take that one to the grave, and my grandkids will hear about that one.
As they should. We posted a stat fax maybe a few months back that highlighted Gwynn's success. I mean, the guy, according to StatFax, as far as we know, Tony Gwynn had only swung and missed at 5 pitches his whole career. So you're telling me you were responsible for probably 3 or 4 of those 5 swing and misses?
Yeah, I did, because I definitely punched him out at least once. I think I might have got him twice. He said for some reason he goes, I can't pick up the ball against you, Nagel. It was so funny because he talked like a surfer boy with that California accent that he had and stuff. So he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I can't pick up the ball against you." And I'm like, "Well, can you tell like Barry Bonds and Mark Lemke and these guys what you're seeing, because they're seeing a different ball than you are."
That's great, man. Like the McGwire stuff is interesting. So he was kind of sitting middle on you, and when you would hit corners, he was just unprepared.
Yeah. Yep. He definitely, because for most lefties are the pure low ball hitters, but McGwire actually had that little lift in his swing. So he definitely liked the ball low, but he kind of opened up in his swing a little bit. So if you could dot that low and away corner, he was susceptible to missing that sometimes. But it was more so that up and in fastball. Even though I wasn't a blazer, I could get it up there 89, 90 when I needed to. And every time when I went up and in on him, I swear I just never missed a spot on him. And I would just throw that up and in fastball, and he couldn't lay off it.
Now, that was pre-interleague days. Do you think if you faced someone who was on Oakland, it would have made a difference, or this was all just kind of NL ball?
It could have, when I was younger in my career, not knowing as much, and stuff, and maybe not as prepared, maybe I would have made that mistake and tried to go like down and in with the breaking ball and He might have hit that one like you saw that highlight all for Randy Johnson in the Kingdom against me if I'd done that.
Shout out Domes real quick. All right, we've beaten up McGuire enough, so I'm going to move on. I want to ask you now, since retiring, are you still involved with the game? I know you're pitching coach for Chatfield High, if I believe. If you want to maybe talk about kind of how you're still staying involved with baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I'm the varsity pitching coach at a school called Chatfield High School out here in Littleton, Colorado. Go Chargers! But yeah, so I actually started doing it when my son was a junior in high school, and the head coach had called me up, picking my brain, wanting to know if I saw anything that I could critique him on and stuff. And I kind of jokingly said to him then, I said, "Well, do you want me to be honest?" He goes, "Absolutely, man. I need some advice here and stuff." So I gave him my tips, what I was seeing, what the team was doing wrong, because I was never going to be that dad from the stands, or something, or calling the coach up or anything. I just like to sit back and watch my son play. But he had called me and asked me for my advice. And then by the end of the conversation, he said, "Hey, Denny, do you want to come to practice tomorrow, actually?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. No problem. I'll come up and then work with the boys a little bit." So I came up, worked with a few of the pitchers, helped out with throwing some BP and stuff. And by the end of practice, him and the team wanted me to stay and coach the rest of that year. And so I was only supposed to do it till my son stayed in high school. And man, I feel like Al Pacino in The Godfather, man. Every year I'm like, they keep pulling me back in. But I love it though, man. It's been so much fun, man. And it's really kind of reinvigorated me with the game of baseball and falling in love with the game of baseball all over again through helping these kids and watching them develop and hopefully seeing some of these kids go on to play at the next level. That's what really gets me now, is trying to help these kids out, man, to advance their careers now.
That's awesome. And unlike Pacino, you got a killer changeup, so not much you can speak to there. Do you keep tabs on graduates as they progress from high school on? Are you like following these guys as they move on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yep. I got a couple kids that are like playing junior college ball. That's some pretty decent program stuff. And then the one kid he was there that first year that I came on and started helping out. And his one thing was, this kid threw in high school through 95 to 97 miles an hour. But he didn't have confidence, and I'm like, what is wrong with this kid? I mean, you should be going out there dominating, saying, "Man, this mound is mine," and own it, man, and say to yourself that these guys are going to pay today, man. And so that was one of the things I was working with him on, was just instilling that confidence in him. And he's now at the University of Arkansas, obviously one of the top programs in all of college baseball. And I feel like they've missed the boat on him a little bit though, because he's still been like a setup man, part-time closer for them. His name is Christian Fouts, but he's hitting 99 to 100 miles an hour now, and he's 6'3", 235 pounds.
Wow,
So he's definitely a pro prospect for sure, man.
that's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna turn to fan questions now. We've got a little bit of time left on the episode, so anyone who's tuning in now, feel free to drop a question in the comments, and we'll see if we can get to it. But we do have some already submitted from some fans here from FAX Nation. I'm going to open with one from the Real Dodger Dogs Instagram. How dirty was Greg Maddux? Now, to me, it's a little unclear if he's referring to Maddox's pitches or his clubhouse pranks, but perhaps you can speak to both.
I could definitely speak to both. Well, let's say, so the pitching side of it, he was as dirty as they come too. I never saw somebody that had that much movement with that much control. So, some like a guy like Kevin Brown comes to mind. Back in my time, that his ball moved so much, but he would literally just throw the crap out of it and hope it moves somewhere in the zone. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, look, the guy could control it somewhat too, but his ball just kind of moved all over the place. Whereas Maddox, he had that control, but excuse me, that movement, but he knew exactly how far to start it off the outside corner to bring it back on that outside corner against the righty, or that famous highlight that we see all the time now with that front door fastball that he would throw to lefties. That he started off the plate, and every single time you see those lefties back off the plate because they're like, it's going to hit me. And then next thing you know, it dives, a foot and a half back on the inside corner. It was just incredible. Even when you play catch with him, I'm like, it's not fair. How do you make a ball move that much? I don't know if it moves like 2 centimeters for me. So pitching wise, he was definitely dirty. Now on the other side, you definitely didn't want to be too close to his locker or too close to him in the shower. And what I mean is, because I remember one game, so I think Smoltz had pitched that night. I think we were playing the Astros, and I'm next to him in the shower. Chipper's across from us in the shower across from us, and Mattis looks at me and goes, "Hey, Niggs, what'd you think of that 2-1 slider that Smoltz threw to Bagwell tonight in the fifth inning? And I'm like, wow, all right, man, Maddox really wants my opinion on this. I'm like, well, I started answering him, like he really wants my opinion. I mean, I think it was the right pitch. I mean, I know Smoltz can throw a 96, but I mean, Bagwell's a dead red fastball guy. Before I can even finish, Chipper just goes, Nags, just look down. And I look down and he's pissing on me the whole time in the shower because it just distracted me to get my answer.
So was he more accurate in the shower or on the mound?
I think he probably had about as much accuracy pissing as he did pitching.
Yeah, but that's awesome. That's hilarious, by the way. That reminds me of that documentary that they dropped on Maddox about where they mentioned the kind of similar pranks he would pull. And
Oh, yeah, the sanitary socks. Oh, God.
yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, the two-seamer going on lefties, I feel like he coined that. Like he trademarked that two-seamer in on lefties.
Yep. I mean, anytime, it's such a great compliment now whenever you listen to a broadcast and you hear an announcer even say, oh, that was kind of a Maddox front door fastball right there. So anytime your pitch is somebody's pitches, today are compared to you, that's the greatest compliment I feel, and or when they say, well, he's kind of the poor man's Greg Maddux, I mean, like Kyle Hendricks has been called the poor man's Greg Maddux, when he had his good years there with the Cubs and stuff. And, so yeah, I mean, it's there was nobody better than doing that front door fastball to lefties.
Is Hendricks the modern day pitcher that comes to mind when you think of a Greg Maddux comparative, or is there someone else?
No, I would say he's definitely probably the most comparable one that I've seen because he's all about, unlike most of the guys today who, like we talked about earlier, who just light up the guns and are kind of more max effort guys. He's out there and just poised and mixing things up and trying to locate with some movement on his pitches and stuff. So I would definitely say that he's probably I think that description when people say he's the poor man's Greg Maddux is probably a good description of him.
That's fair. Yeah, no, he's from what I've seen from him, he's definitely up there. All right, this question we got from Elliot33 on Instagram. What's your favorite Yankees story other than winning the World Series?
Well, shoot, I know the Tom Wolpat one was good. Another funny one was when we had uh, Creed, the band Creed was same thing. I think they were there to do the national anthem, and they were big sports fans and big baseball fans. And George Steinbrenner, it doesn't matter like who you are, though. I mean, it could be, if Elvis Presley was still around, if George didn't want you on the field, you weren't going on the freaking field. And but me and Jason Grimsley and a couple of the guys were talking to the band members and stuff, whatever, and because we're fans of them, it's so funny. It's like athletes and baseball players and stuff. We want to be famous rock musicians or actors and stuff. And then actors and musicians want to be an NFL player or baseball, a pitcher in MLB or a hitter and something. So we always find like mutual things to talk about whenever guys like that, come around and stuff. So we're bullshitting with them and having fun. And then they're like, man, do you think it'd be okay if we go on the field and just like take one pitch in the cage right now? So we're like, yeah, I mean, come on, you guys, it's Creed. And so, I mean, they weren't even in that batting cage more than 10 seconds, when all of a sudden one of the security comes running out, the phone's trying to ring in the dugout and everything, and stuff, whatever. You would have thought the stadium was on fire. It was because George Steinbrenner was up there and he saw somebody going into the cage trying to take a swing. Who the hell's on there? Get him off the field right now. All I could think about was, him being portrayed in Seinfeld, however, what's going on over there? So.
Oh yeah. Those Steinbrenner Seinfeld days episodes were clutch. No, those were some really funny ones.
Yep.
What do you think about Creed being a part of the Rangers World Series run?
I mean, I thought it was cool, man. Like I said, I mean, because they adopted their song, right, for their like anthem.
Yep.
Yep. And so it's just like when the Cubs that year, I mean, Eddie Vedder, being a huge Cubs fan and stuff, and I think did they adopt one of Pearl Jam song when they went on that run in 2016?
I think so.
Yeah.
As far as we know.
Yeah. So I think it's cool when a team like ends up, adopting a song for their team anthem, quote unquote. I think it's pretty cool, and like I said, because, so many of these guys are huge sports fans and stuff, man. And so I think it's fun when stuff like that happens.
I agree. Yeah, that crossover is definitely cool. On the Yankees note, I got another question here from Nazareth Tabone University on Twitter. Shout out to a FAX Nation subscriber on Twitter. They would like to know, what was it like playing in a Subway Series, World Series?
Man, I'll tell you what, from a family standpoint, it was incredible because as everybody knows, the World Series, it's usually 2 games at home for the one team, whoever gets home field advantage, and then 3 games on the road, and then you finish up with the other 2 games. And a lot of times, like this past year, it was New York against LA. So it's tough for like all of your family members to make all the games. But being a Subway Series and the fact that we got to play all 7 games in New York at either Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium, it was so much fun for the whole family to come up. For my family, I'm from the Baltimore area, so they just all took the train up, into Penn Station and got to stay there the whole time. And so to be able to experience that whole thing with all of my family, my cousins, uncles, and extended family, I have a bunch of good buddies of mine and my little brother that are pretty much I call them my second and third brothers and stuff, and. So to be able to experience all that, man, with all of my family and extended family was incredible. And the one funny story about that was Billy Crystal was with his film crew during that whole playoff run, especially the World Series, getting background scenes for his movie 61 that he was shooting for HBO.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we won and we're on the field now and everybody's celebrating, jumping around, being part of the whole celebration, I'm like, hey, Billy, this is my dad. This is my uncle. This is my brother. This is kind of my second brother. This is my sister. Finally, Billy goes, Jesus Christ, how many fucking Nagels are there, man?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's old Yankee Stadium's got to be in my top 5 stadiums all time.
Oh man, yeah, it definitely was, man. I mean, first thing I did was go out and look at the monuments and stuff, man, and then listen to the roll call that they do there and stuff. I mean, it was just so cool.
I love the roll call. I wish more stadiums would do the roll call.
I do too. Yep.
I got a question from me, which I'm hanging on to for the end as a closer for the episode here. We got 2 more that popped up in the chat on the live. Some of these were earlier on, but getting into FAX Sports territory here, a little bit on the lighter side. What is your favorite brand of ketchup?
Oh, it's got to be Heinz. Got to be Heinz, especially playing for the Pirates and and my mom is actually from the Pittsburgh area, so I got to go with Heinz.
I use Heinz in every meal.
Absolutely.
I mean, Clark's ketchup getting a lot of momentum in Boston. Jaron Duran is a ketchup guy. He drizzles it. I got to say Heinz by far. Glad we're in alignment.
Yes.
This one from AJ on Instagram, who's also a FAX Plus subscriber. Shout out to AJ. He wants to know, who is your GOAT, greatest of all time?
Oh man, gosh. I mean, that's a tough one because, I mean, for me, it's hard not because he was my dad's favorite player and everything too. I'm going to go with Mickey Mantle. I think if Mickey hadn't destroyed his body, man, admittedly so, with all the partying he did and everything too, his numbers would have been just even crazier than what they were.
That's a solid pick and a good promo for the 61 Billy Crystal movie.
Yeah, there you go.
Check out.
The greatest switch hitter for sure.
I like that. He was, yeah.
Yep.
Arguably. I mean, not arguably, he was.
Yeah.
All right, so last one from me. I have to ask, can you give us one of your trademark train whistles?
That was from my mouth.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear
Nah.
it? Here, we'll go again. Did you still not hear it?
I don't know. Vaccination, did you guys hear that? All right, I'll give you benefit of the doubt on that. What about, can you do a fax machine sending a fax? That's a little bit harder. Yeah, that's better than the train whistle, man, in my opinion.
I'm surprised the train whistle didn't come through.
It might have broken the sound barrier. Yeah, AJ just commented there. Yeah, potentially. That's legacy stuff right there. I love it. Thank you for doing that.
You got
Appreciate a little impromptu from Denny Neagle there. All right. Wrapping it up here on Fax's Dialed In with Denny Neagle. I'm going to give you an opportunity now to shout out Chatfield High, anything else you might have in the works, anything upcoming projects, events wise that you want to drop here on the pod.
Yeah, definitely. People can follow our high school team. That's for sure. Just go to Chatfield Chargers Baseball or ChatfieldChargersBaseball.com. But yeah, we're hopefully going to make a run here in the state playoffs. We're 10-8 right now. We should be 14-4, truth be told, but we messed up a few games. But hopefully, we're going to make a deep run in the state playoffs here in a couple of weeks. So that'll be nice. And then the only other thing I definitely want to touch on is the one big charity thing that I've been involved with over the last 18, 19 years, well, 17, 18 years now is, unfortunately, about almost 19 years ago, I lost a 4-year-old nephew to a drowning accident. My nephew Connor, my older sister Debbie's son, and it was a preventable drowning accident that happened at a public pool, and ultimately what he passed away from was cardiac arrest, because the ER physician that saw him when they brought him in the ER said that he went into cardiac arrest, and that if they had a defibrillator at the pool, but none of the lifeguards knew how to use it. Only the general manager, who wasn't there at that time, knew how to use the defibrillator. So we actually got involved and started a Connor Cares charity, and then we got a Connor law passed in the state of Maryland that stated that every public pool had to have a defibrillator on site, and somebody that knew how to use it. And they're pretty self-explanatory. They're pretty easy to use. Even 10, 11, 12-year-old kids can use them, because they talk you through exactly what to do once you open up the defibrillator and start the process of administering to somebody. So we got that law passed in the state of Maryland back in 2012. And we're working on trying to get 3 more states to pass the law, because if you get 4 or more states involved, then it becomes a federal law. And so that's been our mission now. And over the years, we've also gotten involved and donated care vans to inner cities, YMCAs, to bring urban kids from the city that don't know how to swim and stuff, to YMCAs and local pools to give them swimming lessons. Because our ultimate goal is that hopefully no family ever has to go through what we went through, losing a loved one like that.
Which states besides Maryland do you think need to get involved the most, or the closest to kind of bring, coming on with some additional support for vaccination listening?
Yeah, well, we've had some good friends down in the Naples, Florida area that have really been in getting involved with us down there, and they're trying to get. So it's easier to get it past the state level once you get a couple counties to pass it first, and then after you get a couple counties to pass it, then it becomes easier to pass at the state level and so forth. So Florida definitely makes sense. Arizona, California, places where they obviously swim a lot more than they do in other cold weather states and stuff. So if we can somehow get California, Florida, Arizona, Georgia, South Carolina, the warmer states for sure would help even more.
All right, Fax Nation, you heard it. Florida, Arizona, Georgia, California. Let's get going on Connor Cares for a good cause for Denny Neagle here. Denny, thank you for spending an hour with us here on Fax's Dialed In podcast. As a Braves fan, I could not be more fanning out right now as a fax machine. I don't even have a fan within my machine, but I'm just fanning out. This whole hour has been a blast to hang out with you and talk with you, and I'm just very grateful. So thank you for coming on.
It's my pleasure, man. We'll hopefully do it again soon sometime.
That's the plan. Take care, sir.
All right. Take care.